Ladies and gentlemen, we are here with the 4th Cup of the summer season, North America Day. It is Saturday, of course. So we have our top 8 teams now, top 6 teams since we've said goodbye to 2. Dilly's team, unfortunately, not able to compete today. And of course, we just saw that fantastic, dominating performance from the Move, able to win 3-0 in their series. Now we head over to the upper bracket. So all of these next 4 teams have not lost yet in this tournament. And moreover, they have a second chance. So if they do lose, they will be dropping down to lower. 2 fantastic teams coming up in our next series. We're going to have M2KC, the Mew Mew Kitty Cats, going up against Cloud9. Now, Zico, I want to get your take on this one a little bit, because M2KC has been getting the better of C9 as we see the poll come in that C9 still has a slight edge in terms of the fan vote.
Yeah, C9 has been running a lot of... Yeah, this is exactly what I was going to get to. C9's been running a lot of Mage Lock Druid, been getting farmed, honestly, by M2KC, and their answer has been that Rogue Mage Druid with Snuts finally coming off the bench, and they beat Resurgent in the same matchup last week. We'll see if they can do it against M2KC, who, in my opinion, are, you know, a little bit better at this comp.
Yeah, and actually it was a 3-0 victory for Cloud9 on Wednesday against Resurgent. Very impressive stuff coming in from Cloud9. If they can keep that up, it'll be absolutely fantastic. But M2KC, we know, is a different beast on this Iron Paladin.
Yeah, I mean, who are they going to go after in this matchup? Jamili getting early crowd control over onto Snuts. It seems like when they play this matchup out, from what I've seen in the offline games, they really like to go after the mage. Wealthy Man's going to be the main focal point. Of course, if he was not targeted down, he would just get so much control out in the matchup. So I like the strategy from M2KC, being very aggressive. Jamili moving forward, looking for crowd control. Snuts vanishing, making sure to deny Jamili on that initial polymorph with the Garrote Silence. I like the plays. Snuts, Cloud9, we have to just stabilize in the opener. If M2KC develop too much momentum, that's when things fall apart. But with the way Cloud9's playing it right now, they've really kind of weathered the storm, and there's a lot of pressure on Jamili.
Well, this might get awkward. Jamili holds on. Temporal Shield goes off, but still burning down quickly in terms of health. Rubcup is struggling to recover through this attack from Cloud9. Perhaps it was just a matter of time for Cloud9 to figure out the Rogue Mage Paladin composition. Rogue Mage Druid is looking solid, but here comes a big push from Roasties, trying to battle back for M2KC in game 1. Can they push forward and get the ice block? No, but at least the Gladiator safeguard from Jamili, or from Wealthy Man, is out of the way. Cubsy's mana not in a good position as well, so M2KC are still staying in the fight as a result of their consistent pressure, but Cloud9 at any moment could turn this game on a dime with some triple crowd control.
Yep, and they're going to have to see if they can get it. Jamili in a kidney shot, still a lot of pressure. Keep in mind, there is no cauterize for Jamili. He's in trouble. They make an all-in attempt over onto Cubsy. Can they keep him alive? What is Cubsy going to do? There's no trinket. Barskin trades out. He's in a Hammer of Justice. Do Jamili and Roasties have the damage? Cubsy, with a nice dispel on that Gladiator's Maledict, is able to escape and get behind the pillar, and he should be able to easily recover from that. But now, keep in mind, if Jamili can reset his combustion, there's an attempt. But Cloud9, they're looking to close out the game. Jamili forced into his ice block, but still, this is on a razor's edge. Cloud9 could easily fall in the next attempt if M2KC can make a great offensive push.
All right, let's see if they can get it done here. Jamili cycloned at low health. This is making it awkward for Rubcup, but he's trying to line up some heals immediately afterwards. Light of the Martyr, very effective against Mage as a Paladin, as you're going to be polymorphed often and healed back to full despite all the damage you take from using Light of the Martyr. Cubsy being swapped to again. Jamili trying to get control of Snuts and move in, but Wealthy Man stops him, so it's just Rubcup and Roasties on Cubsy. Is that going to be enough damage? Jamili tries to sneak in a Meteor, but Cubsy dodges it slightly to the right, now jumping away to safety. Beautiful save by Wealthy Man, holding Jamili in midfield, only allowing 2 members of M2KC to go at Cubsy at one time during that stun was critical.
Yep, this can be a difficult position to be in as the Fire Mage, especially with the rogue controlling you, such as Snuts. When Snuts is in control, that's when Wealthy Man just goes for the polymorphs, and Jamili hasn't been able to get too much done. I mean, there's been no crowd control on the Cubsy. Every time they go for Cubsy, Jamili's in a kidney shot or he's in a polymorph, and he can't really assist in damage. And Cloud9, they've really been in control for most of this matchup. M2KC, what are they going to do? Roasties vanishes out. He's looking for a sap on Cubsy. Unable to find it, he throws on the blind, but Roasties just sort of baiting him. He's actually just going to go for re-stealth, finding the sap, and he might just keep him in place. No, actually going for Wealthy Man as they look to make an offensive push. M2KC, they need to start getting ice blocks out of the way if they want to take down Wealthy Man. He's got a lead 2-0 over Jamili at this point. Wealthy Man doing a great job defensively, looking for polymorphs. Jamili actually sneaks in a polymorph on Cubsy, and this certainly will be the first ice block from Wealthy Man. Cubsy, he actually broke out of the polymorph. It was on diminishing return, so I guess it was a short polymorph, and as a result, Cubsy will keep Wealthy Man alive.
It's interesting how the Kleptomania play has sort of shifted with the Gladiator Safeguard. Mage is now prioritizing stripping off the Gladiator Safeguard when it procs to try and burst through for a surprise kill, as opposed to using it on the overgrowth of the Restoration Druid and trying to make sure that you've got all of the heal over time effects in the game. It's definitely shifted the way that the mages are playing with the spell steal. We're roughly 30 seconds away from dampening. Mana is even. Cooldown lead, though, significantly in favor of Cloud9. Crowd control secured. Good position for Cloud9 here. Roasty smokes bombs to avoid being cycloned, then moves in but walks out. Now cycloned away. Robcub tried to hammer it, but he wasn't able to get it in time. If they get this, they land the Ring of Frost. There's potential. Combustion popped. They need to drop Wealthy Man in just a matter of seconds. They do manage to get his first ice block. Some of the defense is finally falling for Cloud9 as M2KC find their footing.
Yep, nicely done by M2KC, really battling their way back in this match, and mana could be a factor. I mean, Cubsy's mana is not doing great. Rubcub has a little bit of a lead, and I think moving forward, it's going to be easier for Rubcub to sustain with no mana. Full Cyclone on Roasties, blind on Rubcub. What is Snuts trying to set up? Kidney shot onto Jamili. He's got no Cauterize, he's got no Ice Block for another minute, but Rubcub with the Avenger Crusader easily keeps him alive. Snuts trying to develop pressure, trying to develop momentum, but Rubcub's heals are just so powerful. Cubsy actually trying to sneak away for a drink, unable to find it. Rubcub charging in, looking for the Hammer of Justice, gets denied. Nicely done by Wealthy Man. Now it's Jamili, who could easily be on the back foot.
Yeah, he's going to use Temporal Shield, absorb some of this damage right before being stunned, heal back a bit of it, but now that shield is gone, Snuts is going to sink his teeth in. He needs to try and get this sacrifice. Actually, no sacrifice available. This is dire straits for M2KC. There is no significant outs for 21 seconds, roughly. So if they can push through for a kill, this is their time. This is their moment. Can Cloud9 pull it off? Cubsy has managed to regenerate mana amidst all of the chaos. That's allowing his team to play for an extended match. There's a smoke bomb, 8 seconds away, 7 seconds away, 5 seconds away. Can Snuts stay on target? 3 seconds away, 2 seconds away, 1 second. Now Jamili has that out with the ice block, although he may need to press it almost immediately after it becoming available. Divine Favor sneaks in, stabilizing Jamili for now. Such a close call for M2KC. Jamili manages to stall with polymorphs on Snuts, now switching over onto Wealthy Man, but the stun connects regardless, and despite their best efforts, Ice Block will be forced, and Cloud9 maintain their lead.
Yep, nicely done by Cloud9. There's just such good control of this matchup. I mean, this really seems like Cloud9's playing at a really high level, and maybe the matchup isn't as one-sided as we thought when it is a super good Rogue Mage Druid playing head-to-head against the Rogue Mage Paladin. Cubsy now in a kidney shot. Good damage coming in. He trades out the Bark Skin. He trades out the Iron Bark. There's still a good offensive push here available for M2KC. Cubsy's really vulnerable. There's good control coming in. Jamili on the back foot, taking quite a bit of damage. In desperation, polymorphing Snuts as often as he can. Now still looking to take down Cubsy. Roasties, if he can connect, Cubsy can be in a lot of trouble. This is the perfect situation for M2KC. Cubsy, there's no Trinket, there's no Barkskin. They have to land a stun. Roasties with Vendetta could essentially solo Cubsy with just a little bit of extra damage from Rubcub. We'll have to see what they can get done.
All right, Vendetta's pop. This is going to be a lot of damage onto Jamili. What's he going to do? Snuts is all over him. Is he on polymorph diminishing return? Doesn't look like it. Snuts is trying to dodge polymorphs. Gets a re-stealth with the Vanish. Goes for a big power play. Rubcub needs some big heals right now, but his Divine Favor could be crowd controlled. It does! Beautifully done by Wealthy Man, stealing that big heal and interrupting him. Now Jamili on the ropes is likely to fall, holding on by a thread in desperation, trying to take Snuts out of the fight with polymorph, but despite his best efforts, I'm so surprised that Jamili is even still alive. Another full polymorph over onto Rubcub. Jamili trying to retreat. Snuts stuns him up, staying on the outskirts of that Ring of Frost. Jamili just holding on with nothing left. Cauterized proxies on the run. Snuts trying to just throw knives at him to find the kill. Shadow stepping in for an Envenom Flurry connects from Wealthy Man, and Cloud9 will close it out. Rubcub totally tapped on mana. M2KC totally tapped on cooldowns. And this looks like an entirely different Cloud9. It appears to me that they've got the Rogue Mage Paladin figured out a lot more than last week.
Yeah, this is what we wanted to see from Cloud9. We talked about it a little bit in the pre-game. They have been struggling in patch 8.2, especially against these Rogue Mage Paladin compositions. This was their first real strong victory against M2KC, though I must admit, Zico, I feel like M2KC really messed this up, allowing Cubsy to drink. They had the game in the bag until that moment, in my eyes at least.
They allowed him to drink it. Also, the strategy is kind of off when you go on the Frost Mage that much. I mean, you can have the Frost Mage as kind of like the off target that you hit sometimes, but usually when this matchup is played in Europe, people go a lot after the Resto Druid like they did in the start, albeit it wasn't that clean, and also after the Rogue. The Mage is not really that much of a priority because the Fire Mage has more disruption and the Fire Mage is more scary if he's free and the Frost Mage is free. The Fire Mage is usually the one generating more pressure, so I feel like Cloud9, in order to win a game like this, they need to just completely outclass M2KC and get CC after CC and go through so many defenses, whereas M2KC, if they want to win the game, well, all they have to do is really blind Cubsy and then do a one clean swap to him, or blind Cubsy and go after Snuts and kill Snuts. So I feel like this shouldn't really look that one-sided if M2KC steps up their game a little bit.
Well, we'll have to see how they do play it out. Obviously, M2KC is a team that we've complimented quite a lot this this side of the patch. 8.2 really has been theirs. They won the last cup. They've been looking really, really good. But we do feel like RM Paladin should be favored into Rogue Mage Druid. Is that something that is a consensus shared on the desk based on what we've seen in the, I mean, certainly in that game?
I don't know. Maybe. I feel like in the past I would have thought that, but playing the matchup a little bit, it seems difficult when you do go against a really good Frost Mage, really good Restoration Druid. The problem I find is if you don't go after the Mage, I mean, obviously as a Rogue Mage Paladin, you can win in a really clean setup on the Restoration Druid or on the Rogue, and we've seen that in these cups time and time again, but it seems like if the Rogue Mage Druid actually are really clinical with their defensive crowd control and the way they rotate through cooldowns, they can end up living some of these situations. So I don't think it's as one-sided as I thought in the past, but I still kind of feel like the RM Paladin does have a slight edge and can afford to make a little bit more mistakes for sure.
Yeah, there's a lot of kind of, that's why the Holy Paladin's so nice, right? Because you have so much forgiveness, the ultimate sacrifice tools like that.
Yeah, and this is one of the things I really wanted to see, because in North America, obviously we've seen the Rogue Mage Paladin composition do quite well into the Rogue Mage Druid, but I always kind of wondered what's going to happen when M2KC, they go up against a team like Method Black. And they both make it to the summer finals, and we see sort of the European Rogue Mage Druid against the Rogue Mage Paladin. Are they going to be able to fare, or are they going to be able to walk all over them like we've seen them do to Cloud9 in the past? Cloud9 played that game a lot cleaner, and it didn't look nearly as easy for M2KC. They really were struggling to find pressure, but I feel like there was a few moments in the game where if Jamili just connected the smallest amount of damage, Cubsy was just dead. So they really have to bank on that all in. They need to have their Dispels ready to get Jamili out of Polymorph. He needs to have Counterspell ready to counterspell Polymorph so he can actually go in and make those offensive plays, because it was Wealthy Man just consistently denying him. So I think if M2KC plays it perfect, it's really difficult for Cloud9. But if M2KC is sloppy even a little bit, then Cloud9 can sort of capitalize on that.
Yeah, no, absolutely, I agree. And it's really interesting to watch the evolution. Like, Rogue Mage always is never as one-dimensional as some compositions that we see where it's just kind of like one very clear-cut strategy. So it's very interesting to see these two teams going up at it. I do want to also spend a second here, guys, to congratulate Limit on killing the second-to-last boss, the 7th boss in the new raid. We'll be talking a little bit more about Trill, one of their raiders, later on. He's actually competing in the next series for Method Orange. We've got a lot of discussion on the desk that we want to discuss when it comes to Method Orange, Trill and Limit and all of that stuff. But first we have to get through this one. Cloud9 against M2KC, the defending spring champions here, going up against the team that won the last cup and has looked fantastic in 8.2. This Rogue Mage back and forth is always a pleasure to see, Sid.
All right, let's see if they can get it done here on Hook Point. A good map for an all-in, a good map against a Restoration Druid, and that's exactly what M2KC are looking to do early on, although they're not finding too much. Only a Bark Skin in the first assault. Well, it wasn't Combustion or Vendetta, so M2KC are holding some big power spells in their back pocket for another opportunity later on. If they can get Cubsy's Trinket with Blind. Cubsy cannot trinket this. If he trinkets this, he dies. Okay, he trinketed it. He is dead in the next stun. If M2KC go all in, Ice Block, Crowd Control, use Cloak Shadow's Evasion aggressively, I think it's almost impossible that Cubsy survives this. M2KC need to get ready for that swap to him as soon as possible. They need Hammer of Justice and Kidney Shots. They probably need Vanish Cheap Shot as well. But but if they use all of these stuns in succession in about the next 20 seconds, they can easily take Cubsy out. Cubsy knows that he's the target. He's getting ready for it. He stuns Roasties. I'm very surprised to not just see maybe even an aggressive trinket there. Cubsy knows he needs to buy time for 10 more seconds. Very surprised to not see M2KC just go all in there. Now they're overextended and Rubcub is being punished.
Yeah, Rubcub taking quite a bit of damage. Cubsy playing this game out beautifully, to be honest. I mean, he has his Bark skin now. Iron Bark's going to be available. I think he still has his Gladiator Safeguard, so there's a lot of defense available. The strategy M2KC is doing is super predictable. So if Cubsy's heads up like that, he managed to get a nice little bash on Roasties, and that bought him enough time to escape. Now they're actually swapping over to Wealthy Man, who trades out his Ice Block. This is what we want to see from M2KC. If they can't go after Cubsy, they can go after Wealthy Man, they can go after Snuts. They have to keep Cubsy guessing. He can't just be allowed to sit in bear form, anticipating a swap to himself forever. They need to start creating openings, and I like that M2KC has started to do that in this match.
All right, let's see if they can mix it up here. I still feel like they had the formula to just get the kill on Cubsy if they had gone all out. Although going all out and then being put on match point, perhaps there's some stress there. They didn't want to commit it too aggressively. Rubcub's interrupted. That means trouble for Jamili, even though Cubsy's in a Dragon's Breath. Which mage is going to get raced down first? Wealthy Man already down in Ice Block. Now we see Iron Bark from Cubsy. Lots of defense force on the side of Cloud9. Jamili cycloned on his Temporal Shield. Well timed by Cubsy, denying its healing. Jamili still hovers on low health. Rubcub's in a blind. If he has to use Divine Shield here or Ice Block, they're going to fall behind heavily on cooldowns. Big Icy Veins proc from Wealthy Man, going to be dealing huge damage, netting them an Ice Block.
Yep, Jamili in the Ice Block. Rubcub has to top him off. They're not out of it yet. If they get Divine Shield, this is going to be massive, but I don't think they're going to be able to. Avenging Crusader comes in from Rubcub and manages to find some huge heals on the side of Jamili. Now big all-in on Cubsy. He is not messing around. He trinkets out into a Hammer of Justice, and this is the all-in we're talking about. Can they take Cubsy down? Jamili, does he have the Kleptomania? Cubsy trying to escape. He's used Bark Skin, Iron Bark, Trinket, Safeguard, everything. And M2KC might be able to just push through and take him down. And this is the advantage that Zico alluded to. As the Rogue Mage Paladin, you need one good setup. You win the game. And honestly, what could Cubsy have even done there? He played it, he respected the kidney shot, instantly trinketed, Bark Skin, Iron Bark, Safeguard procs, everything, good kiting, dead.
I can't do anything but sympathize with Cubsy in that situation. I know it as a Restoration Druid. Anyone who plays Restoration Druid in the chat will know it. It is kind of this impossible situation that, especially after the nerfs Druids can be put in, the all-in from a Rogue Mage in general, throw the Paladin on top, it doesn't really matter, you know, whether it's 2s, whether it's 3s. An all-in strategy like that, it's so difficult to survive, and that's why we say the favor is in M2KC's kind of side of the map here, because it just takes one setup like that.
That's what I mean. Look what C9 had to do to win the first game. They had to go through, you know, multiple ultimate sacrifices, 2 Ice Blocks, 2 Cauterizers. They had to go through so many different defensives, and even then, they still had to drink to win that game. Like, if you compare what M2KC has to do to win, in my mind, it's a big advantage. I don't even think it's like a small edge in favor of any of the comps. I think Rogue Mage Paladin should win, and as Cubsy, you can't Trinket blind, because this will always happen if you Trinket blinds. And here he had Trinket as well for the stun and still just died through everything, you know? There, while he's in that little leap there, he lost 50% of his HP. And then here, Garrote, Bops are coming out, you know, Cloak of Shadows, nobody can get peeled. Rubcub can use Divine Shield as well to keep swinging here. Like, there's nothing you can do about this all-in as a Resto Druid, especially if you don't have Trinket for the kidney. And so that means what M2KC can do, and what a lot of teams are doing in these mirrors, is they just blind him and go on Rogue. Why would you ever go Mage? You just blind the healer, go Rogue. If the healer doesn't Trinket, great. You forced every CD from the Rogue, you land 2 setups, you win the game. Otherwise, just kill the healer if he Trinkets.
Yeah, I mean,
it's literally checkmate.
Even if he doesn't Trinket, like imagine if he didn't have Trinket for that setup, how flattened he would have got. Exactly, absolutely crazy. M2KC find the opportunity, they find the kill, and they tie up the series 1-1 here. Game 3 here between M2KC and Cloud9, and you guessed it, it's going to be the biggest map in the pool. Cubsy wants to make sure there's at least 150 yards between him and Roasties in this next one. It's going to be a tough uphill battle though. Cloud9, you saw what they had to do to win in Game 1. It was absolutely crazy. Can they do it here in Game 3? They need 2 more to win this series.
Yeah, it just really feels like Cloud9, they cannot afford to make any mistakes in this matchup. Cubsy, if he gets caught out of form, just one, even if he has his trinket available, they can just delete him. So this bigger map going to make it a lot more difficult for them to do so. Now, Sid, what do you want to see Cloud9 do in this match?
I want to see Cloud9 just basically play it the way they played game number 1. Just kind of play it calm, cool, and collected, weather through the cooldown slowly but surely, and try to not expose yourselves. Honestly, the previous map, it just made it so difficult for Cubsy. On a larger map like this, they're going to be able to start it out a little bit better. Jamili is also playing the greater Pyroblast build this time around, so they could potentially even go for Wealthy Man. As I say that, they're going for a big swap here onto Cubsy.
Yep, Cubsy taking quite a bit of damage. It's a kidney shot, it's a bark skin, it's an iron bark. What is Cubsy going to do? He's trying to escape. Shadow Mend on the Gladiator's Maledict. Safeguard procs, iron bark should be enough. And Cubsy does survive. He held on to his trinket, he played it greedy. There's really good peels there by Wealthy Man. He managed to polymorph Jamili, polymorph his trinket, Kleptomania spellsteal his combustion, and because of that, Jamili's damage was really limited. Nicely done by Wealthy Man. That's what we have to see from Wealthy Man in order for Cubsy to survive these setups.
Yeah, Wealthy Man is kind of the goalkeeper here of the defense on Cloud9. It's gonna be on his shoulders to keep Cubsy alive in this matchup, and now Snuts caught up in using his kidney shot here onto Jamili. We see a Kleptomania as well from Wealthy Man here, trying to get some counter pressure going, but we need some crowd control over onto Rubcub. Not gonna be found for now. His Divine Favor is going to be up very, very soon, and he should be able to top off Jamili. The safeguard does proc, and now a lot of damage here over onto Cubsy. Another kidney shot, Hammer of Justice combo. Here's the Meteor as well, but Snuts is there to soak it. Is it going to be enough though?
No
Cubsy
way!
Down.
He could easily just fall. Once again, Cubsy barely holding on. That setup, that wasn't any cooldowns from M2KC. Except, I guess, the Vanish. Roasty was able to get the Vanish off. It was actually a Shadow Meld re-stealth in order to get another cheap shot into a Growth Silence. And every single one of these setups is so devastating for Cubsy in this match. Jamili with a greater Pyroblast, although he hasn't got any of them off, there's been no damage from it so far. If he can get it off, that maybe is the consistent damage that they needed in the matchup to actually start pressuring down Wealthy Man. So I'm not necessarily, I don't disagree with that decision. I think if they are going to go after Mage a little bit more, they can get the greater Power Blast off. They can even get focused greater Power Blast off on Snuts and maybe put a kidney shot on him with a smoke bomb. Those can be strategies we see implemented by M2KC to start just generating a little bit more pressure. Because right now, Cubsy, he's been the only target in the match. He's sitting 100 yards away from Jamili right now. He knows if they get on top of him, he could die at any moment. So he's just positioning himself very far away. And this is what I want to see from M2KC, really start pressuring a secondary target.
Yeah, I would like that secondary target to be Snuts, though, because that really forces the issue here on Cloud9. And Snuts also doesn't have his Cloak of Shadows. Now Jamili caught up in the kidney shot. They're going to get Blessing of Protection. Now Cubsy is actually in a sap. This could be a big moment here where they can actually go for Cubsy. I want to see a polymorph over onto Snuts. Not going to happen. Instead, we're going to see a continued CC chain here. Wealthy Man, Safeguard is going to proc. Meteor is going to connect, but it's not going to be enough there, unfortunately, for the M2KC team to bank themselves an Ice Block.
Yeah, and look, Rubcub, he's in crowd control. Jamili getting low, forced into his Ice Block. Cloud9 slowly but surely getting control of this game, and I have to agree with you, Sid. I feel like they need to start going after Snuts in the matchup. I think the greater Power Blast really creates windows of opportunity. If Jamili can get one on Snuts and then land a kidney shot, I feel like it's going to be every cooldown from Snuts.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Snuts was caught up in a polymorph literally behind the pillar when Cubsy was, in stealth on the other side. And Cubsy, to his credit, has been playing this phenomenally. Cubsy been staying away so long that he actually has his trinket back up, his bark skin, and now we could potentially see Cubsy move in a little bit, get a couple of Cyclones here, and be a little bit more active in the game now that he has those defensives to work with. I really want to see Mew Mew Kitty Cats go after Snuts a lot more, polymorph him behind the pillar when Cubsy is super far away, and then that way you force Cubsy to move forward and dispel. That gives Roasty an opportunity to actually kidney shot Cubsy and force out all of his cooldowns again, or it gives you an opportunity to get a greater Power Blast over onto Snuts, and then you can kidney shot Snuts, smoke bomb him, get his trinket out of the way, start withering down some of those defensives, and then if you blind Cubsy, you can also force force his trinket that way. Now Roast is caught up in the kidney shot here, has to trinket out. Rubcup still in a polymorph. Roast is going to reverse that kidney shot over onto Snuts. This is what we like to see.
Yeah, we do like to see this. Snuts taking a little bit of damage. Finally, Jamili actually playing so defensive. Lands a greater Power Blast on Snuts. Unfortunately, gets healed up quite easily. Still decent pressure here. Cubsy got caught into a Hammer of Justice. Rubcub risked it all. He crossed the map, got the Hammer of Justice onto Cubsy. Managed to escape without getting caught into a polymorph. Nicely done. But unfortunately, Jamili wasn't able to follow it up. So there was no additional crowd control. And as a result, that Hammer of Justice isn't enough for Snuts to be forced to use any sort of defensive cooldowns. Now Jamili under fire, gets counterspelled. Now they're actually going back for Cubsy. Are they going to be able to get any damage rolling? Jamili lands the Gladiator's Maledict. Cubsy responds with the Bark Skin. He's not overreacting because he has to hold on to these cooldowns. He needs to always have something that he can work with. And I have to say, Cubsy has been playing this match quite well in order to survive.
Yeah, it's very, very difficult to survive, and he's been positioning very, very well, but this is also the largest map in the pool. I think on this map, it could be a little bit more difficult to execute the strategy for Mew Mew Kitty Cats, but I think they should play the range game, honestly. Jamili should go behind that pillar right there, drag Snuts all the way behind it, have Roasted sit on Wealthy Man, and if Snuts ever goes behind that pillar, just Dragon Breath, sheep him, and then after that, you're going to have an opportunity to Hammer of Justice Cubsy because he's the one who's going to actually have to move over there close to you. So instead of chasing over to Cubsy, you just make Cubsy come to you by crowd controlling Snuts and threatening him with that greater Pyroblast. That's what M2KC has to do to kind of diffuse this checkmate situation that Cloud9 currently has. I don't think Wealthy Man is ever going to go down, and these telegraphed swaps when they're crossing the map just like this all the way, I don't think they're going to actually bank too many cooldowns because Wealthy Man is so quick to break that up. Polymorphing Rubcub here, making sure that Rubcub is not going to be able to land on Hammer of Justice. Cubsy caught up in the blind, going to be able to sit that comfortably because Snuts is not the target. And Jamili, he's going to get shut down as well because he has to cross such a large distance to get that Ring of Frost. It's just not going to bank them any defensives here from Wealthy Man. Cubsy should have an easy time healing this up.
Yep, Wealthy Man is going to be able to survive. Cyclone over on Roasties. Good control coming in from Cloud9. Once again, Jamili, Rubcub, they're on the retreat, looking for a greater Pyroblast on Snuts. Snuts manages to avoid it, but this is what we want to see. When you get Polymorph on Snuts, they need to get the greater Power Blast on Snuts and try to set up a kill that way. They're just not really building too much momentum right now onto Wealthy Man. Jamili sneaks one greater Power Blast onto Cubsy. That could have been devastating if Roasties could land a kidney shot, but once again, Cubsy's positioned so far away in the matchup that it just becomes really difficult. And you have to kind of wonder right now, what is M2KC playing for? They're just kind of lobbing out greater Pyroblast. Cubsy's across the map. He's been able to heal through all of this damage, and I feel like eventually it's going to be easy for Wealthy Man to get, you know, crowd control on Rubcub by himself, whereas Cubsy, he's not really threatened by any sort of crowd control unless you see Rubcub push in. One greater Pyroblast lands onto Wealthy Man, and easily Cubsy, he deals with it. Rubcub's behind on mana. Cloud9's looking really good. This large map is paying dividends. We really need to see M2KC go after the Rogue, or maybe they know at some point in dampening they can eventually take Wealthy Man down. I'm just not sold on that yet.
Well, Snuts actually used his Vanish there offensively as well. Like right here, they don't need to polymorph Snuts there. Instead, have Rubcub go behind the pillar, have Jamili go behind the pillar, and then just Dragon's Breath sheep him. There, Dragon's Breath, full sheep. Now cast a greater Pyroblast on Snuts. Unfortunately, it's DR'd because, you know, he polymorphed him in open line of sight where Cubsy can just easily reach the spell from very far away. And here, even with this Nova, if you connect one greater Pyroblast onto Snuts behind that pillar, Roasties goes in with a kidney shot or Rubcub gets a Hammer of Justice, I guarantee you that's going to be Snuts' trinket. That's going to be Cubsy as well having to move forward. And you have two stunts. You can Hammer of Justice Snuts and then step kidney shot Cubsy as well, or you can step blind Cubsy in that situation when you actually have momentum. And those are the kind of CC chains you're going to be able to capitalize on. And Snuts, once again, just getting sheep, getting redis, but now he can push behind the pillar. There's no threat ever of him actually dying here. So he's just going to be able to go in here, keep withering down Rubcub's mana, keep getting those cooldowns used, and Jamili's just going to be forced to tank it here. Now, nice temporal shield there by Jamili, preemptively on that kidney shot, should be able to stabilize, but again, there's just no pressure onto Wealthy Man. RM Pala is the comp that is on a timer. They have a lot more deadly setups, but they need to actually force something with them, because if Cloud9 can just play the slow game, well, we saw how game one went, they will win that way.
Yep. And things are looking good for Cloud9 in this matchup. We're at 26% dampening. I really wonder how long these healers can hold on. Cubsy's been able to free drink in the matchup. Snuts getting swapped to. actually Cubsy was able to dispel him, and Snuts with a feint able to stabilize, but we need to see those setups consistently. And if Roasties can actually come back and be the one to land the kidney shot on a setup like that, then all of a sudden Snuts is in a world of pain. Roasties, of course, with the smoke bomb, could easily take Snuts down. Jamili now looking for a greater power blast, gets interrupted by a Wealthy Man. Jamili responds immediately with a polymorph onto Wealthy Man. Bit of a little mini game going on here. Jamili just trying to consistently land these greater power blasts in the matchup. There's a smoke bomb. Snuts trinkets out immediately, vanishes off as well. And this is the kind of defensive cooldowns they can really start forcing out, but it might be too little too late. Look at Rubcub, Sid. His health is low, his mana's low. What is he gonna do?
I don't know, Van. Honestly, Rubcub, he has a world of trouble ahead of him now, getting caught up in that full blind on his Avenging Crusader. Is he going to set it? It looks to be the case. Jamili now caught up in that kidney shot. Is he going to be able to survive? It looks to be the case now. Jamili getting that Blessing of Protection. Snuts in a world of trouble here. And once again, the kidney shot connects. Rubcub is pushing forward for that Hammer of Justice. Cubsy, preemptive Ironbark, beautifully done. And Jamili is going for the Ring of Frost. Nice kick there by Snuts. Honestly, Cloud9 are just playing so well in this matchup right now, not giving any edges here. Jamili now caught up in the smoke bomb. Snuts looking to reverse the pressure. Cubsy as well here, BMing a little bit with that Moonkin affinity, throwing out a couple of Lunar Strikes. Very nicely done. They're going to bank themselves a nice block.
Yeah, Jamili, that was Cauterize also. Cauterize overlapped with Ice Block. Rubcub, the only real defense he has is the Greater Sacrifice and the Divine Shield. I mean, those are big defensives, but there's not too much left for M2KC to really work with. We are at 36% dampening. Wealthy Man, Cubsy, they're pushing in. They're getting aggressive, maybe overconfident. I mean, we've seen what they've been able to do to Cubsy in the past. I feel like they should just go after Cubsy all in. Just press all your buttons on him, see what happens, because right now they have no momentum on anyone else. Snuts in a kidney shot right now, but with the Relentless, with no crowd control, and Cubsy should be able to easily survive. We need to see them start forcing stuff from Cubsy. Hammer of Justice comes in. There's no kidney shot to follow it up, so Cubsy's going to be feeling quite healthy, but now with no trinket, no bark skin, Jamili has combustion. Cubsy cannot afford to play that aggressive again.
And Snuts has no defensive cooldowns. Cubsy has no defensive cooldowns. This is the situation you want to be in as the Mew Mew Kitty Cats. Just drag Snuts now behind his pillar, and you can threaten to kill him. Cubsy's going to have to be in Ironbark range, and if he's behind the pillar, nicely positioned here by Jamili. Nova, not going to be able to land that Nova. Maybe didn't have it just yet. Goes for the polymorph, gets Shadow Step kicks. Snuts very aware here of the situation. Looks to perhaps kidney shot that Greater Power Blast. No, Wealthy Man going to come in with the counter spell. And now Roasties has the situation, but it's not going to be enough there. Jamili is going to fall.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's one of those games where it looked like M2KC just took way too long to adapt, way too long to figure out how to play that one. Jamili kind of got the idea halfway through the match. He was starting to throw some of those greater Pyroblasts over onto the enemy rogue, over onto Snuts, but it just wasn't enough. And as a great and experienced mage yourself, Zico, what did you think of that game? Like, the rogue mage didn't seem to play out as well for M2KC, but very well played by Cloud9.
Well, with my hundreds of rank 1 titles, my big brain, and of course my big afro, I will provide you perfect analysis of this matchup, Adrian. Cloud9 on Tolvaron Arena looked to exploit the advantages that the Druid bring by playing maximum range, consistently setting up drinks and playing for the late game. They played solid defense and then eventually deeper into dampening. When they've tapped Jamili and Rubcub out of their resources and their cooldowns, they went for a big push. They got the sacrifice right prior to the kill, and that was really the last line of defense. Rubcub saves his Divine Shield as using this sacrifice preemptively, but later on the Divine Shield almost becomes irrelevant because dampening is reducing the healing so significantly. So perhaps he could have saved that for later on. There were some close calls for Cubsy as he was switched to frequently in this game, but because of the map selected and the strategy that Cloud9 were able to play, they could extend the game for such an extended period of time that they could inevitably pull the kill onto Jamili. The team is on a clock, the Rogue Mage Paladin. They have to end the game fast, and it's going to be quite difficult on the map selected by Cloud9. And because they lost the blind pick, they're not going to have the advantage of fighting on a small map for game number 5 in this series. It could easily swing all the way to that point. But here's the kill moment. Jamili running the Greater Pyroblast build. Wasn't really a big fan. I think this was to try and set up pressure onto Wealthy Man, who, as the Frost Mage, was really taking a lot of damage throughout the series. So they were hoping the Greater Pyroblast Blast would add some surprise, but it ended up just making him a sitting duck, and there at the end he was taken out. Really well played by Cloud9, and they've got a solid strategy for the larger maps.
Yeah, it definitely feels that way, and if that continues to be the trend throughout this series, then there's a very good chance that Cloud9 could win it just off the bat that they won the Grand Arena. We're expecting M2KC presumably to take it to a smaller map now, the close quarters where they can one-shot Cubsy, and even in that game, let's be honest, there were a few opportunities where Cubsy almost went down.
I mean, there was one moment in particular where he kind of pushed in. I kind of called it out, like, maybe he's getting a little bit overconfident, and he had to trade out his trinket, his Barkskin, and he almost just went down. And those moments are just really, really scary for Cubsy, and that's why we see him across the map. You know, he cannot afford to make any mistakes in this matchup, or, you know, M2KC can take him down really, really quickly. On the smaller map, Dalaran Sewers, it's going to be much easier for Roasties to actually land those consistent kidney shots onto Cubsy. It's not going to be nearly as easy for him to escape, and I mean, that's what we really need to see if they want to continue this matchup and keep putting points on the board. I think M2KC is still in this, but Cloud9 winning game number 1, that's definitely going to be a big advantage for them moving to a game 5 if we get there.
Yeah, I mean, they're kind of playing Rogue Mage in high gravity, especially Cubsy right now. We talk about it as the Restoration Druid. It's just this impossible situation that if you get caught, you die. So the whole thing is not to get hunted, right? You've got to avoid the entirety of the game, and Cubsy has to weave that with his Cyclones. We saw a couple of Star Surges coming in as well, the Moonkin Affinity. Do you think there's a chance, let's say that M2KC wins this, let's theorycraft this for a second, Sid, and say that M2KC wins, that M2KC would actually lock in the Rogue Mage Druid in Game 5 if we were to go to a bigger map from Cloud9? Or do you think they should feel confident in the Rogue Mage Paladin?
I think they should just keep going with the Rogue Mage Paladin. The worst map in the pool for them is already out of the equation here. You know, you still have Asherman's Fall, of course, to kind of worry about, but I think on Asherman's Fall, you can still use those big pillars to your advantage. I think most of it just comes down to abusing Snuts more. I think they started doing that later on in the game, but at that point, it was just simply too late. They spent a lot of time going after Wealthy Man, while Cubsy had no defensives whatsoever. They could have easily set something up on Snuts there, and then forced Cubsy to go in behind that pillar, and then they could have set up themselves a nice CC chain or a potential swap there to Cubsy. So I just want to see the Mew Mew Kitty Cats clean up their gameplay a little bit, and I think there's no need for them to swap comp regardless of the map.
So you think if Rob Cub were to lock in his Druid, that would be a bit of a throw?
Yeah, I think if Cub Rub, I believe it's called.
Rub Cub, yeah.
Rub Cub, sorry.
Cub Rub. What is it? I think it's Cub Rub, yeah.
I think it's actually Cub Rub.
Cub Rub,
and then it's Rube
sounds about
Cube
right.
for his Shaman.
Rube Cube, yeah.
I think if that were to be locked in, I think, honestly, Cubsy, with how he was playing this game, he would just outclass him a little bit. What do you think, Zico, our brain analyst?
Well, Super Tees, that was some great analysis there. I certainly think after observing in the Tolvaron Arena, looking to exploit Snuts' positioning is something that Jamili is going to try to do a lot more of. Towards the end of the match, maybe 10 minutes in, we started seeing him go for that strategy. Now, if he looks to do that 10 minutes sooner, that could open up a whole can of worms for Cubsy.
Yeah, Zico, you're looking a bit stronger than we saw before.
Yeah, working out, right?
You're doing a good job. Anyways, right, we're going to head into Dalaran Sewers, guys. M2KC with the map choice. This is upper bracket, so even if they were to lose, they just drop down to lower. But both these teams want to go through to Championship Sunday with that top 3 secured. And this is what the series is all about. Cloud9 one game away from seeing off M2KC, who have been their kryptonite in patch 8.2.
Yeah, let's see what Cloud9 can do. They have to play a solid game of shutting down Jamili. That's what it is all about. Wealthy Man. When Snuts can't shut him down with the kidney shot, we need to see polymorphs coming in. Cubsy immediately into the kidney shot. Do they have the damage? Unfortunately, Jamili just can't get there. There's just no follow-up damage. Cubsy's going to be completely fine through that opener, and that's one of the big problems. We need to see M2KC in a coordinated assault, but Jamili just is rarely able to find the damage. If he can get there, Cubsy just falls down. But unfortunately, in this matchup, it's been very difficult.
All right, here we go in game number 4. Cloud9 in the lead on match point. M2KC looking to exploit the smaller map and likely find kills onto Cubsy or Snuts. Let's see if they can set it up here. Right now they're on the back foot trying to just stay alive. Rub Cub's finally out of the polymorphs, though, now in a cheap shot. Smoke bomb gets dropped. Big play here by Snuts to try and net the cauterize from Jamili. They spell steal off the Gladiator safeguard. Very big pressure point there for Jamili, and Rub Cub doesn't trust it. He's going to use the ultimate sacrifice, redirect some of that damage, which could have been lethal, to himself instead. Icy Vein still available for Wealthy Man, of which he can pull out at any point to enhance his damage, and that's going to be the threat that Jamili needs to get ready for.
Yeah, Cubsy's healing is just so high in this matchup. Wealthy Man really has not been threatened much. He's looking like a tank on that Frost Mage right now. Hammer of Justice on Cubsy into a sap. Nicely done. Nicely done by M2KC. They need to start getting cooldowns from Wealthy Man. Temporal Shield comes in. Actually spell steals it off from Jamili. Wealthy Man getting a little bit low. Keep in mind, he doesn't have the safety net of that cauterize effect like Jamili. If he gets low, it has to be his ice block. He's greeting it so hard. Ironbar comes in. There's an interrupt. Wealthy Man still in defiance does not want to give them an ice block. Oh my goodness gracious, that has to be so frustrating for M2KC. Wealthy Man holds on by a thread, but it pays off, and now he's in a situation where once again, he's got both of his ice blocks, and he's just looking bulletproof against M2KC.
Yeah, right now, Cloud9 look good. Now Polymorph onto Roasties into a Cyclone. He's been crowd controlled for an extended period of time as Cloud9 look to implement the chain now onto Rubcub with a full Cyclone secured. Jamili is on the run. I feel like he's constantly on the run this entire series. Jamili is getting a lot of cardio in today, but I'm not sure if he's going to be able to make it out alive on match point. They're falling further and further behind. If at any point Cubsy sneaks away, manages to drink and regenerate mana, that's certainly going to be curtains for M2KC. We would like to see a swap to Cubsy as soon as possible, but with where he's positioned, it's almost impossible. Rubcub in a blind, big push here from Cloud9. Running that Relentless means that Rubcub can't escape it, but they aren't able to get a Sap or a Polymorph. Blind not nearly as threatening without that extra 8 seconds from a Sap or Polymorph. Rubcub charges across midfield to try and crowd control Cubsy. Cubsy anticipates Iron Bark preemptive on the stun. This should make Wealthy Man a lot more durable and allow him to play maybe more aggressive despite the big push here from M2KC. But now Iron Bark is faded. Temporal Shield is over. The Ring of Frost is faded. 1 second left on Dragon's Breath. They managed to do it. Ice block on 1%. Wealthy Man holding on to it until the absolute final second, but they'll stay alive.
That's so risky. I just... Wealthy Man could easily go down without blocking in a situation like that, but he has managed to greet it so far. He still has one ice block left. Cloud9, they're in a prime position. Jamili has not been, although there's been really good pressure coming in from Cloud9 onto M2KC, Jamili has been able to hold on to his ice blocks. Rubcub doing a really good job rotating through his defensive cooldowns, and on the smaller map, it has been difficult for Wealthy Man to kite through a lot of this matchup. Full Hammer of Justice on Cubsy. Roasty's looking for a sap, manages to find it. This could be the second ice block. He might even be on hypothermia. Cubsy forced to trinket out. And now there's an opportunity for Roasties. I believe he has a full blind available for Cubsy. If he can land that blind, there it is. Wealthy Man gets interrupted. Do they have the damage? Temporal Shield looking to trade out. Do they have follow-up CC? They need something onto Cubsy. Wealthy Man holds on through the full blind. Jamili held on to his combustion. I feel like that had to be a little bit greedy. I'm not sure if he didn't have it available for that moment, but that would have easily been the ice block of Wealthy Man. Now, unfortunately, Wealthy Man able to easily recover, and that sort of window of opportunity they had with that full blind has been lost.
Yeah, window of opportunity is now over. This is not good for M2KC. They're on match point. Cloud9 appear to have figured out the Rogue Mage Paladin composition, having defeated Resurgent, who beat them in the past, and now putting M2KC on match point. And perhaps Cloud9 have returned to be the kings of North America, bringing Snuts off the bench for the Rogue Mage Druid. Now with all 4 members of Cloud9 implemented, the Elite 4 Cloud9 may just be unbeatable. And I was saying that this bracket was looking good for Method Orange to dodge Cloud9. It's not looking to be good to dodge Cloud9. If Cloud9 can best M2KC, that is going to be very bad news for Method Orange. Should they be even able to beat the boys? There is a high level of competition currently in North America between all of the teams, with the 3-way tie in both Europe and North America. And I'm very curious if Method Orange can recover the points and be able to maintain for the rest of the season to get a spot at the Summer Finals, because they're already so far behind on points that there's basically no way that they will qualify. I mean, maybe. There's like a 0.3% chance that they qualify on points to BlizzCon. They have to get a qualification slot from the Summer Finals, which means they have to have enough points to go to the Summer Finals, which they don't right now. Yeah. And if they can't beat Cloud9 and they can't beat the boys, then I mean, they're not going to get the top finishes that they need to get into the top 4. And that's so bad for Method Orange. This is high stress for them. Trill's in the middle of a raid race. It seems to me that this is just not good for Method Orange. I'm not sure how they're going to deal with it, if Trill's going to continue to participate in the raid racing, or if Method Orange is going to say, hey, we need you now, because if we don't do this, we're not getting to BlizzCon.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Method Orange conversation is one that really needs to happen, and it's one that we will be addressing after this series, guys, because obviously Method Orange are playing in the next one against the boys, and as you correctly stated, Sid, if Cloud9's starting to figure people out and they're such a problem for Method Orange, it doesn't bode well for them. If the boys beat Method Orange, it doesn't even matter. The boys beating them would knock them down already, and that would be the worst case scenario. So we will get onto that one a little bit. Obviously, we just had a disconnect in the game there. We're going to figure out with our admins what's exactly going on and get back into the games as soon as we can. But this series between M2KC and Cloud9 has been a really fun one for me to watch, at least. I've been having a lot of fun with it. The kind of back and forth, it's like this idea. It actually reminds me of old school dampening back in like Mr. Pandaria, where you had the game in your hand. You know, you maybe, as some of the kind of play to win comps we would call them, you had like 10, 15 minutes where you just were gunning and trying to drill down the enemy team, get the kill. And then if you didn't, then dampening was surely in favor of your opposition, rather than today where dampening kind of goes back and forth. Both teams have a fair chance to win. Kind of feels like that for Cubsy. You know, if Cubsy plays the perfect game, avoids Hammer of Justice the entire time, his team does seem to win, but it only takes one opening for M2KC to punish.
Yeah, and that's the thing. M2KC kind of have to create those situations a little bit better, whereas, like you mentioned, all the Cloud9 has to do is play a very, very clean defense. If they can have that, then they will win in the long run. That's just World of Warcraft in general, though. I feel like that's not only a thing that was in Mr. Pandaria. It's like you will have the defensive comps that they have to stop you from getting your win condition, setting up your kill. And if they manage to do so enough times and stall out the game long enough, then they will win because they have more consistent damage or more consistent crowd control. And then you will have the comps that are kind of like a timer, you know, things like the Rogue Mage Paladin, Rogue Mage Priest, where you're going to lose out because your mana is going to go down much faster, but you also have a lot more damage, a lot more offensive power. And then there's actually a third comp variant as well, which is, the all-in aggression cleaves. And they are a little bit more rare these days, but we saw one yesterday with that Rogue DK Holy Paladin, where essentially you build a composition that spams out all of their cooldowns and they try to win as quickly as possible. If they run out of cooldowns before they get the kill, then they lose. I'm sure Venruki is a big fan of that composition, having played a lot against Beast Cleaves and things like that.
Honestly, yeah. I mean, Beast Cleave, I just lost no matter what. Even if I didn't lose in the opener, I lost late game, so.
But you did lose in the opener, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It sucked. It's okay.
Why is this still...
It's because I have the record. I have the record.
Yeah, it's
my team. You got the fastest game of World of Warcraft ever, losing.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I got to say, I'm really happy to see your hair back, Zika. I was scared that you've been incentivized to lose it, but we are able to head back into the game. The game was still going, guys. The game was still going. I think our observers just had a little client issue, so we had to hop out of that one. But as you can see, Cubsy was blown up, most likely, by M2KC, which means we're not missing the best game of the series. At least we will be going to Game 5, most likely on one of these more notable large maps for Cloud9. Obviously, it's a bit of a shame to see the end of that one, but we've got a fantastic Game 5 now lined up because M2KC was able to pull it back.
I mean, we did see what happened on Hook Point, so
yeah,
maybe
we could kind of
we can imagine.
Together,
you close your eyes, just imagine we're back on Hook Point, and Cubsy gets kidney shot, Hammer of Justice, and dies. I'm sure that's something that happened in that last game, and now we're all tied up. It's a tie ball game, 2-2, but luckily for Cloud9, they get to bring it to a large map, and like Zico kind of talked about, they have Ashermane's Fall, very similar to in the Grand Arena, perhaps even a little bit bigger. So it's a great place for Cubsy to try to avoid those stuns, try to avoid those swaps. And it seems like if Cubsy can survive, they will end up winning. So it's going to be up to M2KC to make sure they can really push the pace and try to find openings in some of the defense Cloud9 has right now.
Do we? We're putting a lot of the emphasis on Cubsy, right? Like Cubsy needs to be max ranging and all of this, but how much is it kind of a juggling game for them? Because you would think if it's just a case of keep Cubsy alive, then Snuts can hold on to Blind, he can hold on to Vanished Appeal. Do they need those tools offensively as well, Zico? Or do you think they really could just be playing this full-on defense game and then eventually they'll just kind of win it in dampening?
I think they get run over if they play too defensive. I think every member of the team has kind of their role. Cubsy, he's like the goalkeeper. If you kill him, you win. And then
I'm not sure that's how football works.
Wealthy Man, if there's no goalkeeper, well, you have a
That's true.
significantly
That's
higher
true.
chance
Yes.
of winning. If he gets a red card, then it's pretty good.
Then he's off.
Yeah, and of course, Wealthy Man, he's like the defense. He's like the person in the back who's trying to weather the situation before it reaches to the goalkeeper. And then Snuts, he's like the attacker. Snuts has to generate counter pressure. He has to keep the enemy very defensive, generate a lot of pressure, have a lot of uptime, so that they have to survive for a shorter period of time. And I guess Wealthy Man is more like a midfielder because he has to also be aggressive, but also prioritize the defense. He has to shut down whenever Cubsy is too far away from the fight, and Mew Mew Kitty Cats decides, okay, let's kill Snuts, let's kill Wealthy Man. It's up to Wealthy Man to shut down a lot of those setups. When the Hammer of Justice comes in, Wealthy Man has to be there, try to polymorph up Jamili, try to counterspell him, and Snuts to some degree as well has to sometimes shadow step kick, use a vanish to stop those setups, and then try to counter pressure and land their own setups. So it's definitely a team game. We highlight Cubsy a lot, but Cubsy, he's just one man, he has to be in the back and avoid the fight as much as possible. But if he only does that, then they can just kill somebody else. So it's definitely a team game.
Yeah, it really is. And it's a team game that needs to be played to absolute perfection if Cloud9 are to win this. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to Game 5, M2KC versus Cloud9. It's time for Game 5 here in the Arena World Championship Summer Cup. This is the first of our 2 upper bracket series here on our North American Saturday for Cup 4, and it is going 2-2. We're absolutely delighted to see it. Of course, yesterday we didn't see any series going to Game 5, but these two teams are so evenly matched, both playing the Rogue Mage absolutely fantastically, and may the best team win as we go into the last map.
Yeah, and keep in mind the loser of this game will go to the lower bracket to play against Resurgent. That's Colo's team. It'll be interesting to see who ends up falling in this matchup. I mean, right now we're tied up 2-2 apiece. M2KC, Cloud9. Obviously really important for both these teams to still develop as many points as possible, but Cloud9 already have their position at BlizzCon secure. They did win the spring finals, and that automatically qualified them to the grand finals later on this year. M2KC, it's a different story. They have to win this matchup. They need to get as many points as possible. They have to break into that top 4, and beating Cloud9 right now would just be such an important part for them.
You couldn't ask for this series to go any other way, all the way to game number 5. Spring finalists Cloud9, M2KC, recent cup winners, going head-to-head, slugging it out here on Asha Main's fall. Maybe going to be Cubsy's fall if M2KC can stay on target. They've already burned through Barkskin and Iron Bark, 2 major defenses of the Restoration Druid, and it looks like Roasties has had enough of this series. He's just going to be staying on target. Cubsy finally able to get some crowd control onto Roasties with a bash, support by Wealthy Man with the polymorph, and now able to recover. Rubcub interrupted, but with Avenging Crusader up, it's unlikely to result in too much. I'm curious to see if we see Jamili pull Snuts back and crowd control him to bait Cubsy to move in, or if M2KC keep up the aggression. It looks like they want to keep up the aggression.
Ooh.
Hammer of Justice used before the kidney shot. Maybe they're going to crowd control. It seems to be a bit uncertain here from M2KC as far as what they want to do in terms of strategy. They don't have too many cooldowns. Snuts gets blinded. This almost certainly says that M2KC just want to continue tunneling Cubsy, but that push got nothing done.
Yeah, I mean, look at this. Right now, Cubsy still under fire. Iron Bark is going to land on him. What is going to go down? Do they have any damage? Right now, Cloud9 has good control of the matchup. There's still a trinket available for Cubsy. There's still a Barskin. Jamili under fire. Needs to find a situation where he can land damage with Roasties. If they can get a stun lock on Cubsy with burst damage from all 3 members, that's when they're going to win the game. Jamili right now having to turn his attention over on Wealthy Man. They realize Cubsy is playing way too defensive. It's going to be really difficult to take him down. They have to start finding openings elsewhere, and Wealthy Man just getting bursted down. Gladiator Safeguard comes in. It's a lot of additional burst damage. And now full Hammer Justice over on the Cubsy. Wealthy Man barely holding on, forced into his ice block just a millisecond before the temporal shield fades. That is so unfortunate for Cloud9, but they're still in it. Wealthy Man has an ice block left, but M2KC, that's definitely a small victory for them.
Yeah, M2KC showing that they've still got it here in game number 5, despite the map disadvantage. On these maps, it will be quite difficult to attack Cubsy. As long as he is heads up and stays ahead of M2KC, he needs to max range Rubcub at all times. Rubcub sitting through blind, Jamili in trouble, seconds away from Temporal Shield It will explode, healing him back for a huge amount alongside that blazing barrier, but even still, he managed to shred through it. They don't get any follow-up, though. Jamili going to crowd control Snuts for a moment and try to counter-aggress onto Wealthy Man. Wealthy Man responds, although overlapped with Cubsy's defense at the same time. Bit of a small error here from Cloud9. Rubcub trying to jump in on top of Cubsy, maybe go for a Hammer of Justice polymorph, and they look to continue to target down Wealthy Man. It appears to be that's what they want to do. Seems like M2KC, they don't really have much of a strategy for the larger maps. I think the strategy of going after Snuts behind a pillar and a polymorph makes a lot of sense. As I say that, though, they do manage to finally secure crowd control on Cubsy and net themselves the second ice block. Perhaps M2KC can win with this strategy if they can stay on top of Cubsy and continue to chain their crowd control. Cubsy's reluctant to use his trinket on this blind. If he uses his trinket along with an ice block, it opens him up to a whole world of pain. He can then become a target. Well, he has to worry about Wealthy Man for the rest of the match, so that was a heads-up play from Cubsy to sit through that, not just immediately trading his trinket.
Yeah, and I did misspeak a little bit earlier on. The loser of this will be playing against the Move, but not Resurgent. So, I mean, the Move's got to be watching this match in anticipation. Right now, Jamili getting low. Is he going to be his ice block? A lot of burst damage. The cauterize with the ultimate sacrifice from Rubcub. Jamili getting completely controlled. There's so much burst damage. Rubcub able to hold on to that ice block. And now Wealthy Man on the back foot. He has no ice blocks left for another 4 minutes. If they can weather the storm, if they can hold on, it's going to be a good situation for Cloud9, but there's just a massive time period where M2KC, they have a really big opening. Cubsy right now, he's got his trinket, he has his Iron Bark. There's a lot of defense available. They have to start slowly working through that, but look at Jamili, he's just forced so defensively right now. Lands the Dragon's Breath into a polymorph, into a Frost Nova on the Snuts. Cubsy looking to back him up to the spell. Jamili in a Garrote Silence on Rubcub as well. Nicely done by Snuts. Landing the interrupt on the polymorph. Kitty shot on Wealthy Man, but still, Rubcub really struggling to keep Jamili alive in this situation.
Ooh, smoke bomb by Snuts.
Nice.
Could be devastating. The blazing barrier absorbing a few hits, but Snuts is still on target. They break the Dragon's Breath. Rubcub uses his Blessing of Protection to remove blind, canceling it so that the opposing mage cannot spell steal it. Wise decision by Rubcub. Snuts realized that he may be overextending. He got what he wanted, a crowd control breaker from Rubcub, so now just pause for a second, wait before making another push. Cloud9 need to prepare for the late game because right now they don't have a lot of mana for it, so perhaps they should start to slow down. Although they may not be allowed that breathing room, M2KC leading the charge with a big amount of damage onto Wealthy Man. Rubcub looks to secure a stun. Cubsy's trying to dodge him, ducking around the corner, but unable to escape the Hammer of Justice. Ring of Frost, perfect follow-up. Jamili looking for a potential fake cast here on the polymorph on Snuts. Looking to get multiple crowd controls. Wealthy Man knows that he's in dire straits. He needs to cast polymorph on Jamili. He's got no ice blocks left. They stall it, and they manage to get Iron Bark active onto Wealthy Man, although at the cost of Gladiator's Medallion. A big cost for Cloud9. They're on match point. They're desperate. They're going after Rubcub to try and make something out of nothing. Big damage in here. Also, Cubsy lobbing in a Starfire, trying to add some extra pressure. Gladiator Safeguard going to proc from Rubcub, but in the meantime, M2KC take the opportunity to go after Cubsy in midfield.
Vendetta.
Just really tearing in. Can he escape? He needs to get away from Roasties. Roasties gets Frost Nova'd. If Roasties doesn't connect, then Cubsy will survive. Roasties gets dispelled to the Frost Nova. Roasty can't connect. He's Frost Nova'd again by Wealthy Man. They know he's the biggest threat. They take him out. Both teams are desperate here on match point to get a kill. As we see desperation swaps only 6.5 minutes in. Wealthy Man in trouble again. Cubsy going to activate Iron Bark. That should be enough for him to stabilize, but there's still an ice block for Jamili. There's still a Blessing Sacrifice for Rubcub, and this is not looking good for Cloud9.
No, I just don't agree with that swap on Cubsy. I mean, they found themselves a situation where Wealthy Man finally doesn't have a trinket. He has no temporal shield. He has nothing, basically. They had Smoke Bomb, they had Vendetta, but they decided to go after Cubsy, who still have his Bark Skin. You can't really blame them, as Cubsy has been the main target to fall, but I feel like they've just invested so much time on Wealthy Man, and they finally found themselves in a situation where they had cooldowns to take him down, but unfortunately for them, Wealthy Man, look at this. He has Ice Block. He has 2 Ice Blocks coming up in 15 seconds. That's going to be a massive safety net for Cloud9. Jamili realizing this, he's looking to take him down with the combustion, gets kidney shot by Snuts and denied. Wealthy Man able to stabilize. Cubsy completely tapped on mana at this point in the game. Jamili, of course, still has his ice block. Wealthy Man now has 2 ice blocks available. He's in a kidney shot. Do M2KC have enough damage to take him down? Doesn't look like it just yet, but Sid, who's going to have the mana lead moving forward?
Well, it's not really too much of a lead, but it's slightly in favor of M2KC. Wealthy Man, though, has got 2 ice blocks again. M2KC failing to find the kill, and now Wealthy Man's defense has reset. That certainly puts Cloud9 back in the fight. About 8 minutes into this match. Wealthy Man anticipates this attack, activates Temporal Shield right before all of the damage, and heals up, but he doesn't trust it. He doesn't trust the Temporal Shield to go off in time and trades an Ice Block to maybe just get aggressive, securing a Polymorph onto Rubcub. If they can get Jamili's Ice Block, then certainly it puts them back in the game. They managed to crush through the Temporal Shield. If Rubcub gets Spell Stolen on this Divine Favor, it could be Curtains. Divine Favor active. He does find the heal, but it's not that big at 21% dampening. Jamili not too comfortable. Wealthy Man, on the other hand, with Iron Bark active, should be sitting pretty comfortable. I would love to see a Smoke Bomb swap to Roasties right now by Snuts. He's got Vendetta, Smoke Bomb, and Toxic Blade, Icy Veins. They have 3 really big, powerful cooldowns on the side of Cloud9, and Roasties has no way to escape crowd control. Yep. They need to try and separate Rubcub and Roasties. Cubsy's trying to drink. He got a tad bit of mana, which is better than 0. Jamili, surprisingly, just going to be ice blocking Vendetta off while Rubcub was in a Cyclone. It's a bit of a respect trade by Jamili. It wasn't 100% necessary, but as dampening continues to get higher, it is more difficult to recover from big bursts of damage, so he does just stop the damage before it even occurs. Wealthy Man in trouble again with Temporal Shield about to go off. Does he manage to hold on to the second Ice Block? This time he does. Rubcub's in a poly. Jamili's in trouble. No block. Sacrifice available. Rubcub's going to trade that immediately, but now they're behind on cooldowns with 1 block up on Wealthy Man. Cloud9 are in the lead.
Yeah, Cubsy gets interrupted. They have decent damage on Wealthy Man. There's no Temporal Shield. The Iron Bark is keeping him alive. The Smoke Bomb comes out. Wealthy Man trades out another Ice Block. This is a great situation for M2KC. We're tied up in this series. Loser goes down to the lower bracket. Winner, of course, will be advancing through the upper bracket. This is such a tense moment. Cubsy completely tapped on mana. He's got no Trinket. Wealthy Man, no Ice Block. Rubcub still has, he doesn't really have anything left to work with. Actually, both teams running on fumes at this point, and Jamili on the back foot. This could be the moment where Cloud9 just closes it out.
Yeah, Cloud9 could easily close this out 3-2 against M2KC. Jamili has absolutely nothing left. Snuts Shadows, he uses Cloak of Shadows to avoid Polymorph to end it. He's going to be connecting here shortly. Cauterize triggers, big Divine Favor heal, but it's not really that big in dampening. Wealthy Man equally in trouble. Both mages could fall at any moment in this match, dampening at critical mass, and Jamili falls first. His Roasty's going to try and play it out, dispel it out of Polymorph. Rubcub leading the charge. Cubsy still has absolutely 0 mana. There's no Iron Bark. If Roasties can stay on target, although that's a difficult task against the Frost Mage, he's going to use Cloak of Shadows. He knows it's do or die if he wants to pull this off, although I think unlikely with the kidney shot secured. Cubsy and a Hammer of Justice. Wealthy Man polymorphing Rubcub. Roasties Shadow stepping over, doing everything he can on match point to try and close it out, but Snuts is holding him at bay. Maybe?
What?
Rubcub's doing a lot of damage.
What?
He can't heal.
No way!
Don't count him out just yet. Wealthy Man barely holds on. Roasties just wants to finish him, but he just can't. He's so close, but he just can't.
That's heartbreaking for them.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
yeah. Okay. Well,
Let it rip her off.
I didn't want to say anything before he actually died because, wow, that was. I mean, it was worth the wait. Certainly, that's true. What a close game and a close series. Game 5 going the distance, deep dampening, and both of the teams, I mean, really could have. Just the tiniest little things, you know, the swap to Cubsy, just getting the Barksy, and maybe if that was on Wealthy Man, there's just so many little things you can nitpick at, and one of the best things about that is that we have Zika on the end of the desk just to do it. So who made the mistakes? Who should have won this game? Obviously Cloud9 with a very narrow victory.
Cubsy got a drink off at one point, which is basically the main reason to why Cloud9 were able to get back into the game. And also, at that point, when they swapped over to Cubsy, the situation you guys are alluding to, I didn't mind that swap. What I minded was they got a crowd control over onto Cubsy, and they got the response with cooldowns, and Jamili activated his combustion at the exact same time. Now, this is not really that big of a mistake. I mean, it's something that matters a lot for the outcome of the game, but being a little bit more patient with that combust would have allowed Jamili to actually have the combust to swap over to Cubsy with and take him down in that one swap where Roasties used his Vendetta and actually almost soloed Cubsy. So if Jamili saved that combustion and, you know, Roasties and Jamili were on the same pace there, or same page, then that would have been for sure a game. But unfortunately, that didn't happen. He kind of wasted the combustion because he activated it as Wealthy Man activated his defense. And then, of course, Roasties thought he could solo him, which he couldn't. And also the drink.
Yeah, it was a really good game as well. Like
It was
for
a
us,
super close
it
game.
was
This
such
was the best game of the day, I think.
This was a good series overall. Like both teams playing very, very well. We criticized Cloud9 a couple of weeks ago on their Rogue Mage Druid. We were saying, you know, that they've maybe been too reliant on the Mage Lock, but they've clearly fixed all that up. Fantastic gameplay coming through from them. That is a very difficult matchup, guys, and they're able to pull through 3-2 against M2KC. We can see that now on the bracket, and I mean, this is not good news if you're a fan of the move, I think, because M2KC will now have to play against the move, and lower M2KC has been another one of these teams, guys, that has been causing the move so many troubles, whereas the move were actually able to beat Cloud9 in the past. So we'll have to see what Peekaboo and his team can do. But our next series of the day is the two last teams we haven't yet seen. It's going to be Method Orange against the boys, and we've already talked about this a lot. Method Orange, they really need a big performance. To be honest, they need to beat Cloud9 here. There's 3 cups left on the season, 3 cups left on the year. They're currently behind the boys in the global standings. That's looking insurmountable at this point. They're currently behind the boys in points as well. They're in 6th position. They need to get to the top 4 at the bare minimum for the summer final.